Hello everyone and welcome to this month's Making D&D. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button so that you know when my videos come out. This month we are making the Goggles of Night. So let's get started. So what do these Goggles of Night do in the game? They give you 60 feet of dark vision, and if you already have dark vision, they give you another 60 feet. So I thought with, all of the DMs talking about how their player characters, as soon as they walk into a dark dungeon, scream that they have dark vision and that they can see, and that nothing can sneak up on them that way. I thought I'd make my own pair of the Goggles of Night. Something I don't necessarily do in a lot of my videos is kind of give you a background of how I'm going to be coming up with it, awesome. So we have these Goggles of Night. We're going to make this picture. We're going to make them look awesome. I also do want to make them adjustable. I measured my head as well as my husband's head so that we could, I could make a strap that could fit both of us, just because I think that's cooler. So in order to make these goggles, I am going to use something that I had lying around, which are these goggles. So these are just those plastic steampunk goggles that have lenses in them. And I'm just gonna take this base and I'm gonna take the elastic off of it, take this piece off, and basically just use this glasses as my base for these. Why? Because I have them. I don't know why I have them, but I have them. And also because I feel like a lot of people forget that you don't have to create everything that's on the picture, especially if you're working in theater and you have limited time. And these goggles, I seem to see them in almost every costume shop, prop shop that I have had the honor to be in. So I'm going to be using these as the base. So we have the base. What I did and what I love to do, first things first, is I love to take paper and just slot it over and see if it's working, see if it's doing what it is. This does look incredibly flat right now. It will be curved just like the image. But I just like to take paper and get rough estimates of all the pieces that I'm going to do. This is straight up just me getting some random piece of paper that I have lying around and just starting to show the process. So let's talk about cutting this foam. So I wanted to let you know how I'm going to do this process and exactly how many layers of things that I will probably use. I have a feeling that these side wings right here are not that thick, so I'm probably just going to cut one out of my small, which I think is like 2 millimeters. Unsure. So one for each, okay? Then this portion, which will become our silver gold portion. The gold will actually probably be a strip of worbla. I think I'm gonna need at least 2 of the larger. And then for this piece, actually I'm probably gonna need 3, and I need to think about whether or not I should cut larger ones of these or what. Okay, I'm gonna think on that. And then this piece, which is our front piece, this is at least gonna be 2 of the 5 millimeter. I believe it's 5 millimeter. All right, so I'm gonna draw this all, cut it out, and I'll show you some of the cutting process. first step on the process is to make sure that all of these pieces are sanded to where they need to be. I did like rough cuts, I didn't go crazy, so I do need to sand and make sure that all of these edges are looking correct. So, you know, getting this curve is going to be important. Getting this curve is going to be important. And then what I've done for this piece is I've actually just drawn where I want the leafy petals, almost the leaf texture to be. And I'm just going to sand out those areas so that when I do cover this in worbla, that it'll give this texture without having to add a ton of extra pieces or anything like that. I actually put these and cover them in worbla and attach them all together on their sides, I really want to create a curve, you know, just like the goggles are going to do, but I want to create that ahead of time. So what I've done is I've grabbed handy dandy heat gun and I'm just going to heat these pieces so it gives them more of a dome shape around, so that when they are covered in worbla, they have a little bit more shape, and then I can shape them again if I need to, you know, later on. Before I get too far, these twist off, but I need to paint these lenses or else I'm not going to be able to get them painted without having to fight. So how I'm going to do that is I have my acrylic paint. I am going to mix a little bit of some paint with some water and do a bunch of coats on top of the lenses to give them that blue tint. So I did the first round of putting in the paint, and I forgot that I had all these excess colored gels that are used in theater and swatch books. So I cut up some of those and basically made discs of them and inserted them. And I think they diffuse it a little bit more, which I love a lot better. So now that our leather is dry, I've cut out a little piece of our thinner leather to be used on the nose strap. And I've cut out my template for it. This was just kind of done with eyeballing. Obviously you can see I've extended these lines so that I can give myself a little bit of room, because what I'm going to be doing in here is removing this plastic piece and probably creating a stopper on the edge so that it stays in there nice and tight. I created a paper template. Based off of that, I cut my leather. The big thing that you want to remember is that you are creating 2 mirrored pieces. So these pieces are mirrored and they're going to be perfect. And in order to make them actually perfect, what I am going to do is I'm going to bevel all these edges, stain the edges, and then go through the process of attaching. So now that we have our buckle attached, and it's looking pretty good, and we put the buckle on this as well as the buckle on the other eye, I am going to do the nose cap. This is all stuff I'm gonna put on, obviously, before making the worbla and putting all the worbla details on top, including this. I just want to make sure that the actual goggles themselves work well before I attach the rest of it. So in order to do this, I've cut out leather and made the symbol, and I'm going to put it through the hole that is there. And then what I will do is I have already pricked my holes, so I'm just going to encapsulate them with my thread, poke a hole, make sure that it's all good, and then once this is clamped together, it will not leave the actual eye. Alright, so now comes the process of using the worbla. This is just base worbla to cover all of these pieces. Some of them will be getting their backs covered, some of them will not, because what I will do is as soon as I've covered the front and I like it, and I've covered the inside of this one, I am going to glue and secure with the worbla as well. This will get double-sided and then glued together. So look at this worbla process. So as with any project, there's always going to be a moment where you realize that you kind of messed up or you didn't give yourself enough space, and that's what these winged tips ended up being. I needed to flesh out some of the pieces, and so I just cut them in that place and then just extended them with added worbla. So I have glued this piece onto the goggles, which is awesome, but the biggest problem that you'll notice is that there is a gap right here. Now, on the image, obviously there's a bump out piece right here that's gold, which is on the other side already, but I want to make this gap close and connect these two pieces a little bit better because there's only so much you can hide with this. How I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna use heat gun and heat these pieces together so that they match up a little bit all the way around. It'll create a more connective piece and it will be awesome. So let's do it. Next step is to attach the detail that goes around here. What I did for this is I just cut little strips and I'm gonna mount them along. It does take a little time, but the detail it adds is really cool. beak is one of the last things that needs to be created. It is going to go right here. The one piece that I do think needs to be added is I'm gonna have to add like a little detail around the bottom of the beak, which I will do with the scrap warbler that I have. All right, so now we have our beak looking awesome and fly, but the big thing that is missing, the last piece that we have to do, are these pieces right here. There's one, I assume, on each side because symmetry. So I need to make those. I'm gonna make them out of worbla. Just gonna cut out the shape and then push. I'll show you how I do it right now. Ta-da! So for the base coat for my worbla, I did a wash of water and wood glue 3 times over all of my worbla pieces, front and back, to make sure that they were all nice and coated. It does make it so that the texture of this kind of worbla is pretty much non-existent, and so you can go through and actually start the painting process. All right, so in order to paint this, I'm going to be using several colors from these the FX Plaid Armor Metallic Flexible Paint. I'm going to be using, just want to say the names right, Golden Hour, Bronzed, and their silver, which is Chainmail. And if we look at our reference, right, those seem to be the base colors that we want to use for most of this work, and then we'll go through and do some of the lovely, beautiful patina and texturing a little bit later. So let's get cracking on these base colors. For weathering, so you have base painted them. I've already done some weathering and some weathering on these pieces as well. But looking at this, we need to put some texture on it. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to texturize it. I'm really looking for, you know, the metallic textures to be everywhere, as well as this gold has some of our bronze, more orangey copper in it, so that needs to get added as well. So let's add some weathering. All right, so the last little bit are these white arrows that are in the edge of the glasses. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna paint them in. Thank you so much for watching. If you want any more information about exactly how I made these, you can go to the blog post, which is in the description down below, and that gives you more insight into the step-by-step process and about more of the supplies that I use. As always, like and subscribe, hit the share button, hit that bell button, hit whatever buttons, but let your friends know about this channel and about these awesome videos that I am making, and happy making.